What's up, everyone? Back for another beer review, and today is Wednesday, which of course means it's time for another Western New York Wednesday here on the channel. And the beer I'm reviewing today once again comes from the 42 North Brewing Company, and they're headquartered in East Aurora, New York, and this is their Westbound IPA. So they're calling this one a Left Coast IPA, aka a West Coast IPA that comes in at 6.4% alcohol by volume, 60 IBUs at the time of review, and this can is just under 5 weeks old. So I'm really excited about this one for many reasons. Number one, it's a West Coast IPA, and as you know, if you follow the channel over the past 6 months to a year, West Coast IPAs have been going up and up my list when it comes to hop forward styles. In addition to that, it's a local West Coast IPA, which you don't see as often. And the third and most important reason that I'm stoked for this one is a friend of mine, Jesse, works at 42 North, and this is actually his beer. And what do I mean by that? Well, I sent him a message, and I asked him, I said, I'm going to review Westbound, and I know you had involvement with it. To what extent, and is there anything you want to tell me about the beer so I have accurate information in the review? And he said, of course. So he said, yes, it's my recipe. So it is his recipe. And he brewed it and took care of it all the way through packaging, which is pretty awesome. So he had his hands on it from start to end. He says, yes, it's a modern West Coast IPA. So it's pale in color, which they use, Pilsner malt for a lot of these new West Coast IPAs. So it's a little bit lighter malt base and let the hop shine. He also says, again, it's brewed with Pilsner malt. So it's a super clean base to really let the hop shine. I already read this, so probably just in my mind. And he says it's hopped heavily with Mosaic, Simcoe, and Idaho 7, and a touch of Chinook. He says just like its old school counterparts, it has a firm bitterness. He also talks about, different tasting notes and whatnot. He also mentioned that this is the first batch that I have here of this beer. And as I messaged him, he was actually packaging the next day the batch 2, which he said he tightened up, and wanted to know if I would want to review that one instead. I want to see how batch 1 is, honestly. And maybe I re-review this one in a month if I find batch 2 to be significantly different or better or whatever the case may be. But I'm super stoked for it. We're going to use the North Park glass here because when it comes to new school West Coast IPAs, I think they do a great job. Also on the label it says Pine Crisp West Coast. Pine Crisp West Coast. It's generic as it comes, baby. So hopefully this beer is not. I know Jesse was proud of this one. And the only other person that I saw for sure that had this one of my friends on Untapped and just in general was Chris, the owner of Brewed and Bottled, which you guys know it's the bottle shop that I go to the most. Oh, did I overpour this? Oh, no, I didn't. No, I did not. Almost did. Almost duffed that pour. Now, I poured it beautifully, in my opinion. And that, my friends, is a beautiful fucking West Coast IPA. Look at that. Now, I'll try to get the contraband flashlight here so you guys can kind of see more of hopefully the color of this one. But yeah, you can see, look at the clarity through it. Nice carbonation, beautiful like honey gold color, good carbonation bubbles, about almost 2 fingers of a off-white, nice soap sudsy but also firm head there. The color, like I said, off-white. That looks like a beautiful West Coast IPA. There's not much more to say about it. It looks fucking absolutely beautiful. Good clarity. You can see my hand through it. Yeah, that's proper as far as the looks go. And honestly, it looks a little bit darker than a lot of the new school ones that you get from, say, like for North Park, where they're a little bit lighter. And sometimes some of them even look green, right, Joe? Over at Giles Arcade, there's like so much hop matter and it looks almost green. This one doesn't have that. It looks a little bit more of like an old school, but not as dark. Anyway, let's get a nose. It smells wonderful. Oh, yeah. So it has a beautiful bouquet of, to me, like zesty orange, but a little bit of juicy orange. There is definitely grapefruit, more of a straight-on white grapefruit. A big resinous pine blast in the nose. Like it has that like blue spruce kind of quality I talk about. But like you just say regular pine. Has a dankness from the Mosaic. Maybe even a little bit of that candied berry. So I talk about this every single time I do a new school West Coast IPA review, just because not everybody watches every review, so I always like to mention it. But I find the differences between new school West Coast IPAs and old schools. Obviously, the new school has a lighter malt base. They go Pilsner malt instead of some of the old school malts. So you don't get a lot of like caramel and bread and things of that nature. You get more of just like a crisp, clean, almost crackery kind of malt sensation. Very like Pilsner-esque because they're using Pilsner malt. But in addition to that, it does have, because a lot of the breweries use like new school hops. So in here, you obviously have like Idaho 7 and Mosaic. old school to some degree, but not like super old school. So you get a little bit more of that like candied fruit explosion you would get from a hazy. So this one has a little bit of that candied berry, maybe a little bit more of like a crushed pineapple. But it's still, basically it has a soul of an old school West Coast IPA with new school influence from the lighter malt to more of like the candied hop character. Yeah, it just has that like crackery, slight crackery, bready kind of malt character. Dude, it's just under 5 weeks old. Smells super vibrant, very aromatic. Yeah, smells really good. So far, so good, Jesse. Can't wait to taste this one. So cheers, everybody. Yep, fucking great job. Absolutely great job. This is not fucking around with the bitterness whatsoever. Like, right at the, like, and this is rare. You guys know when I do reviews, if you watch the channel quite frequently, you know, for me, more often than not, like all the fruity hop goodness hits me at the forefront and like the middle of the palate. Same thing with the malt. I usually get the hop character that's more bittering and like piney and dank on the finish, because that's like what it leaves on my palate is that like dank, piney, kind of just like bittering aspect. This one is pretty bitter throughout. Hits me tip of the tongue, dives underneath the palate, and then hits me on the back end. So I like the bitterness. I like the dryness right off that first sip. Go back in. All right, so body on this one, lower side of medium, approaching medium, 6.4%. That's exactly where I'd want it. Not too thick. Lighter to make it a little bit more refreshing and crushable, yet at the same time, it's not thin and watery. The mouthfeel is very crisp. This is like effervescent to the point where I'd say the carbonation is more in that like moderate to a touch over moderately carbonated. So definitely an old school kind of like spritzy carbonation on the palate. It's so super crisp, a very clean beer as well, and it's somewhat refreshing. That bitterness might build up and stop the refreshing nature of this one to some degree, but it's crisp, it's clean, it's somewhat refreshing. Yeah, it's smooth going down as well on the second half of the palate. Going for another sip. So one thing I noticed about this one is I think this actually has more of an old school feeling to it in the taste. Take away the Pilsner malt and take away the hop the hops they're using. This has a lot of, to me, orange and grapefruit. It's pithy, it's zesty orange. It's like a bitter and grapefruit all at the forefront. Little bit of a juiciness from those citrus fruits as well. There's, again, underlying like crackery, bready malt character front to back, which is along for the ride, never steps in the way because the hop character is what is shining in this beer. Midway through the palate, I get more of like a straight up ripened, I'd say pineapple, just very, very slight ripened pineapple. A little bit of that candied berry I was talking about in the nose, but not as much. The nose was a little bit more vibrant with those the candied fruit flavor. But the finish is where this really truly shines as a West Coast IPA. Like I said, blue spruce, white pine, resinous, bitter, a little bit of dankness, probably from the Mosaic and the Idaho 7. So it has like a dank, I'd say more like a dank blue spruce, kind of almost like I don't want to say minty, but a slight touch of like a minty character. It's an awesome finish. Like the finish is fantastic. Bone fucking dry with a straight on moderate bitterness, maybe a touch over moderate. This actually leans more moderate or more bitter and dry than it does sweet, which for the style, yes, that's what you want. You don't want it balanced. I wouldn't mind it. Like if it was balanced, I'd be into it for sure. But you definitely don't want to lean sweet, and this does not have any residual sweetness and doesn't have a lot of sweetness to begin. So if you're somebody who loves old school West Coast IPAs and you're in the Western New York area, you can get your hands on this beer, do so, because this reminds me of some of those old school West Coast IPAs with a new school flair to it. That's kind of what this beer is. 6.4%. I can't tell. No warming in my chest, nothing on the palate. And the glass lacing is fucking ridiculous. Look at that glass lacing. What does that mean? Some people say it's the signs of a quality beer. To me, it just means that it looks cool as shit and you can tell where each sip you took. It gets better as we go down. Anyway, yeah, I'm going to drink the shit out of this. So, not knowing what he did to tighten up the second batch. So, Jesse, you already packaged the second batch as I'm reviewing this, so it doesn't even matter. But for me, for that second batch, which I'm gonna very least gonna try it out if Brewed and Bottle gets some cans, at least at the shop, or maybe bring one home and just drink it off camera. Maybe I'll re-review it. We'll see. But the only thing I'd want to make this more of a new school West Coast IPA is a little bit more of that hop character that is in the new school. Because again, like I talked about earlier, that candied berry, but almost just like more hop, like a more fruit character. This has more citrus than anything else. I would like a more vibrant Mosaic punch of like that candied berry or like that mixed berry, a little bit more of the Idaho 7, which, you know, more like a crushed or sweeter pineapple I usually get from that. If that was in here, this would be a little bit higher than I'm going to rate it. But as is, this is a really good West Coast IPA. My favorite, like regular, readily available West Coast IPA is actually right here, Sticky Trees from Pressure Drop, which is now owned by Ellicottville. That's always been like the gold standard here in the Western New York area for West Coast IPAs, in my opinion. This isn't far off. I gave that, I think, a 4.35. This is going to get very close. One more sip. Yeah, it's delicious. It really is. It's very tasty. So pour the rest in here, and I'm going to give it a rating. So first things first, Jesse, thank you for the information, but also great job on this one. I think you did a great job. I'm curious to see what you tightened up, but I hope you brew more West Coast IPAs there. I know you did the West Coast Pilsner, which I had but didn't review. This is my wheelhouse nowadays. So for me, I think this is a very tasty beer, and it's one that you definitely should be proud of. I'm very happy drinking this. Let's just say it. So Westbound IPA from 42 North. I give that we'll go high 4.25, we'll go 4.3. This is great. And if Jesse did tighten it up to, you know, the level that I'm thinking, or regardless, if he just made it a little bit better, this would get into like probably the low 4 or 5 range. This is a great beer, and I thoroughly do enjoy it. So great job all around. Price point availability. I paid like at Chris's. I bought this at the aforementioned Brewed and Bottled. It's like $4.50, maybe $5 a can. I'd imagine if you buy a 4-pack of this, $16 probably. Jesse, if you watch this video and you want to post a comment, feel free. If not, hit me up by text me or on Untappd or whatever. But I think it's probably in like that $16 4-pack range all day, every day. You don't see many West Coast IPAs here in the Buffalo area, so when I see a West Coast IPA, I'm jumping on it. And you know, for $4 a can, I would probably grab that. I don't mind paying an extra $1 for a single. That's how it works. And availability, Western New York. If you're in Western New York, you probably can get your hands on this one. If you're in Buffalo, better odds. And if you are in Buffalo and you do watch the channel and you haven't checked this one out and you like West Coast IPAs, please do so. It's a damn good, tasty beer, and I can't wait to see what else Jesse brews going forward. And Jesse, if you have any other beers that you are proud of or whatever you want me to review, I'm here for it. I know you appreciate the honest feedback and any constructive criticism, even though I'm just a average Joe that, you know, I just review beer. It's not like I fucking know what I'm doing. But I know you appreciate all kinds of feedback, so let me know, and I'd gladly review whatever. So anyway, I'm going to shut this one down, 6.4%. You really can't tell. Don't warm my chest on the palate. Just a very well-made, tasty West Coast IPA with a new school flair to it. Let me read the taste notes real quick. What we got? This is probably like 12, 13 minutes. What do you say? Dank, resiny character. Bright tangerine, orange, grapefruit, and crispy white pine. I said white pine, so I was probably I don't say white pine a lot. I get the orange. I could definitely see tangerine, grapefruit, white pine, yes, and dank resiny character, sure. I wouldn't say as much juicy as kind of more in that realm of, like I said, like more of like a bittering, pithy, zesty, old school realm. But there's a little bit of juiciness to this one. Anyway, shutting this one down. Check back next Wednesday for another Western New York Wednesday. And until then, cheers.